Hi, I'm Emily, a 35-year-old woman, and I never thought life could take such a bitter turn. Let me share my story with you, the story of dreams shattered and a life torn apart. I was living a seemingly happy life with my husband, Mark. We met at a photography school, drawn together by our shared passion for capturing moments. Mark had this charm about him, and we fell in love. We got married the following year, dreaming of building a life together. Life wasn't easy initially. We started our photography business, facing the challenges every startup encounters. Mark's expertise with the camera complemented my skill in handling clients and managing the business side. Slowly, our hard work paid off, and we started getting recognition. Magazines featured our work, and job offers poured in. But there was a shadow hanging over our happiness. Mark suffered from a chronic illness that weakened him since childhood. Long hours of work were out of the question for him. We made a tough decision. I would be the provider, and Mark would handle the household chores. It was unconventional, but we were in love and determined to make it work. Our lives took an unexpected turn when my husband's older sister, Jessica, entered the scene. She was a constant source of negativity, always criticizing our choices. When will you start doing the household chores? It's ridiculous for a wife to make her husband do all the chores, she'd say, adding to the already existing tension. One day, she dropped a bombshell. Unannounced, Jessica declared she was moving in with us. I was taken aback, but we thought, family is family, and tried to make room for her in our lives. Little did we know, she had darker plans. She not only invaded our space but also insulted us at every chance. Your photography business won't last. You're both fools for thinking it would, she'd sneer. I tried to avoid her, going out whenever she visited, but she caught on and started coming unexpectedly, just to throw more shade. Then she decided to escalate the situation. One day, while I was at work, Mark called me in distress. Jessica had arrived with bags and bags of her belongings, and he was forced to help her unpack. It was a nightmare. She was turning our apartment into her personal space, ordering us around as if we were her servants. The situation reached its peak when she decided to kick us out. In front of our neighbors, she claimed the apartment for herself and her parents. We had to leave our dream home, humiliated and defeated. I had never felt such despair. But in the midst of our darkness, a plan was brewing. Mark and I decided to sell the apartment. We knew Jessica and her parents were eager to move in, so we played our cards. We sold the property, leaving them with no place to go. The news of their sudden homelessness reached us, and despite the bitterness, a sense of revengeful satisfaction crept in. They had taken everything from us, and now life was dealing them a harsh hand. Now we live in my childhood home, finding solace in the memories of better times. Mark and I continue our photography business, and despite the scars, we cherish the love that held us together. The betrayal still stings, but we've learned to navigate the wounds left by family and find happiness in the small moments we capture together. Months passed, and the echoes of that bitter incident lingered in our lives. Mark and I tried to rebuild what we had lost, but the wounds were deep. Our photography business continued to thrive, but the joy we once had seemed tainted. One evening, as we were going through our portfolio, Mark looked at me with sadness in his eyes. Do you ever wonder what life would be like if Jessica had never entered our world? He asked, his voice heavy with the weight of the past. I sighed, contemplating the alternate reality where Jessica hadn't disrupted our lives. Maybe we'd still be in our dream apartment, capturing beautiful moments without this constant shadow. I replied, my mind drifting to the what-ifs. Despite our efforts to move forward, the scars from that chapter remained. Our interactions with family became strained, and trust seemed like a fragile thing that had shattered irreparably. One day, out of the blue, I received a call from Jessica. My heart skipped a beat as her voice crackled through the phone. Emily, I need to talk to you, she said, a hint of desperation in her tone. Reluctantly, I agreed to meet her, the curiosity about what she wanted overshadowing the bitterness. We met at a quiet coffee shop, the air heavy with unspoken words. I never meant for things to turn out this way, Jessica began, her eyes avoiding mine. I thought taking over your apartment would make me happy, but it only brought more chaos into my life. She went on to describe the financial struggles she faced after losing the family home. Her parents were disappointed, and she found herself working day and night just to make ends meet. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on me. The one who had caused our downfall was now facing her own. As she spoke, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of empathy. The bitterness was still there, but beneath it was the realization that we were all victims of our choices. I just wanted a comfortable life, Jessica admitted, her guard finally breaking. But now I've lost everything. I didn't know how to respond. The anger and resentment were still fresh, but seeing Jessica vulnerable made me question the purpose of revenge. We parted ways that day, and the heaviness of our shared past lingered in the air. Life moved on, but the scars remained. Mark and I found solace in each other, leaning on the love that had endured the storm. Our photography business continued to flourish, but the spark that had defined us seemed dimmer. As we navigated the complexities of forgiveness and healing, I couldn't help but wonder if life would ever fully return to the way it was before Jessica entered our world. The shadows of the past loomed over our present, and the road to recovery felt like an uphill battle. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, yet the specter of our past continued to haunt our lives. The wounds, though not as raw, were still tender. Mark and I tried to focus on the positives, finding solace in the routine of our photography work and the familiar corners of our childhood home. One evening, while sorting through old photographs, I stumbled upon pictures of happier times, snapshots of us laughing, exploring, and dreaming together. It felt like a different lifetime, a time when the weight of betrayal hadn't yet settled upon our shoulders. The phone rang, interrupting my nostalgic reverie. It was Jessica again, her voice hesitant on the other end. "Emily, I need to talk to you. Can we meet?" she asked, a vulnerability in her tone that echoed the cracks in our shared history. Despite the reservations, I agreed to meet her, curiosity mingling with a sense of trepidation. We met at the same coffee shop, the air heavy with unspoken apologies and the weight of the past. "I've been reflecting on everything," Jessica began, her eyes revealing the toll life had taken on her. "I know I hurt you both, and I never realized the consequences of my actions until now." She shared the struggles she faced. The financial strain, the strained relationship with her parents, the loneliness that came with her newfound reality. It was a stark contrast to the confident, critical sister-in-law who had once invaded our lives. As she spoke, I found myself torn between empathy and the lingering pain. It was a complex mixture of emotions, and forgiveness seemed like an elusive destination. "I never intended for things to end up this way," Jessica confessed, a vulnerability in her voice that mirrored the fractures in our relationship. "I thought I could just take what I wanted, and everything would fall into place." A heavy silence settled between us. The wounds were too fresh, the scars too visible. Yet beneath the layers of hurt, I saw a woman grappling with the consequences of her choices. "I'm not asking for your forgiveness," Jessica said, her gaze meeting mine. "I just wanted you to know that I understand the pain I caused. I've lost so much, and I can't undo the past." We parted ways that day, the weight of our shared history still lingering. As time passed, the bitterness began to ebb, replaced by a somber acceptance of the irreparable damage. Life continued, a hesitant march forward. Mark and I found a new normal, a delicate balance between the pain of the past and the hope for a brighter future. Our photography business, once tainted by betrayal, slowly regained its luster as we poured our energy into the art that had brought us together. The journey of healing was slow, marked by moments of introspection and shared glances that spoke volumes. We found strength in each other, in the familiarity of our childhood home, and in the unspoken understanding that some scars never fully fade. The seasons changed, and with them, a subtle transformation took place within the walls of our home. Mark and I, bound by a love that had weathered storms, found a fragile sense of peace amid the fragments of our fractured past. The bitterness slowly faded, replaced by a weary acceptance of what had been and an uncertain hope for what could be. As we delved deeper into our work, our shared passion for photography became a sanctuary. The click of the camera, the play of light and shadow, offered a refuge from the complexities of life. Together, we captured moments that told a different story. One of resilience, of a love that refused to be extinguished by the betrayals of the past. Yet the ghosts of our history lingered in unexpected places. A family gathering brought forth the awkward dance of strained conversations and forced smiles. The absence of Jessica and her parents created a void, a reminder of the bonds that had been irreversibly severed. One day, a letter arrived. It was from Jessica, a tentative attempt at pinning down the words that had eluded her in person. She expressed remorse for the pain she had caused, acknowledging the irreversible damage her actions had inflicted upon our lives. Reading her words stirred a mix of emotions, a lingering ache, a flicker of compassion, and a distant echo of the sister-in-law who had once been part of our world. Mark and I sat in silence, grappling with the complexities of forgiveness. In the weeks that followed, life settled into a rhythm. The wounds, though not forgotten, became a part of the tapestry of our existence. We continued to capture moments through our lenses, finding solace in the art that had been our constant companion. Then, one day, a familiar face appeared at our doorstep. It was Jessica, her eyes carrying a vulnerability that transcended the years of discord. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she began, her voice tinged with regret. "But I want you to know that I'm trying to change." She spoke of therapy, of introspection, and of a genuine desire to mend the bonds that had unraveled. The air hung heavy with the weight of unspoken apologies and the hesitant hope for reconciliation. As we navigated this delicate dance of understanding, Mark and I found ourselves standing at the crossroads of forgiveness and guarded acceptance. Could the shattered pieces of our relationships be glued back together, or were the fractures too deep to heal? Life, it seemed, was a tapestry of interconnected stories, a blend of joy and sorrow, of wounds and healing. We were characters in a narrative that unfolded with each passing day, and the ending remained uncertain, a blank page waiting to be written. Time marched on, and with it, the contours of our lives continued to evolve. Jessica's tentative attempts at reconciliation were met with cautious responses from Mark and me. The wounds may have scabbed over, but the scars remained, a visible testament to the fractures that had once threatened to shatter our world. Mark and I found solace in the familiar routine of our photography business. The click of the shutter became a comforting rhythm, a reminder that, despite the upheavals, some things remained constant. Our art became a sanctuary, a place where we could channel our emotions into creating images that told stories of resilience and hope. Family gatherings became less strained, the awkwardness giving way to a fragile sense of detente. Jessica's presence, once a harbinger of discord, now bore traces of humility. The air, though not entirely cleared, carried the weight of unspoken understanding, an acknowledgement that the past could not be erased, but perhaps it could be navigated with a measure of grace. As the seasons cycled through their patterns, the question of forgiveness lingered in the background of our lives. Mark and I grappled with the complexities of letting go, not for Jessica's sake, but for ours. The burden of resentment, heavy and burdensome, threatened to stifle the fragile shoots of renewal that were pushing through the cracks. One day, Jessica approached us with a proposition. "I want to make amends," she said, her eyes betraying a sincerity that hadn't been there before. "Let me help you rebuild what was broken." It was a bold offer, and yet there was a vulnerability in her gaze that spoke volumes. Mark and I exchanged glances, the unspoken conversation hanging in the air. Perhaps, in the endeavor to mend what had been shattered, there was a chance for redemption. Slowly, tentatively, we began the delicate dance of rebuilding. Jessica's efforts were earnest, from assisting with our photography projects to helping with the chores around the house. The once cavernous divide between us seemed to narrow, bridged by a shared commitment to healing. But the journey was far from linear. The past, with its intricate web of betrayals, could not be erased with a few gestures of goodwill. Trust, once broken, had to be painstakingly reconstructed, brick by fragile brick. As we navigated this uncharted territory, a realization settled within us. Forgiveness wasn't a destination. It was a continuous process, a choice we made every day. The scars of the past served as a poignant reminder that our lives were etched with both pain and resilience. And so the narrative unfolded, a tapestry woven with the threads of sorrow and hope. As Jessica endeavored to make amends, Mark and I learned to embrace the ebb and flow of forgiveness. The path ahead was uncertain, but within the uncertainty lay the potential for a different story, one where redemption wasn't just a distant dream. The seasons continued their dance, each one leaving its mark on the landscape of our lives. The tentative truce between us and Jessica began to take firmer roots, and a fragile sense of normalcy settled in the air. The camera lens became a bridge, allowing us to capture not just moments frozen in time, but also the subtle shifts in our relationships. As Jessica's efforts to make amends persisted, the walls of distrust that had once separated us began to crumble, revealing glimpses of shared humanity beneath. She attended family gatherings not as an intruder, but as someone genuinely trying to belong. The awkward silences were replaced by hesitant conversations, testing the waters of connection. One day, as we gathered for a simple family dinner, Jessica hesitated before speaking. "I've started therapy," she admitted, her eyes betraying a mix of vulnerability and determination. "I need to confront my own demons and understand the roots of my actions." Her openness marked a turning point. It was an acknowledgement that the process of healing wasn't just about us forgiving her, but also about her confronting the shadows within herself. The path to redemption was a twofold journey, and Jessica seemed willing to navigate the complexities of her own transformation. Days turned into weeks, and the healing continued its slow, meandering progress. Jessica's role in our lives evolved beyond a mere helper. She became a genuine companion in our pursuit of rebuilding. The bitterness that had once clung to our interactions began to fade, replaced by a newfound sense of camaraderie. Yet, beneath the surface, the question of whether forgiveness could ever be complete lingered. It was a delicate dance between trust and trepidation, a tightrope walk over the chasm of the past. Mark and I, though cautiously optimistic, knew that scars, once etched, could never be erased entirely. One afternoon, as the three of us sat in the living room, the weight of unspoken words hung in the air. Jessica, with the sincerity that seemed to have deepened over time, broke the silence. "I know I can't change the past, but I want to build a future where we can coexist without the shadows of regret." Her words resonated with a truth that transcended the complexities of our shared history. It was an acknowledgement that the past would forever be a part of our narrative, but didn't have to define our future. The decision to move forward wasn't a singular act. It was a collective choice we had to make every day. As the evening sun painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, we found ourselves standing at the threshold of a new beginning. The journey of healing, though arduous, had brought us to a place where forgiveness wasn't just a distant hope, but a tangible reality in the making.